Hi, my name is Rebecca Roussell, and this is my Katrina story. When I think about the summer of 2005, I think about two milestones. One, I just turned 21. So I was super excited about that. And that was my main focus, being 21 and finally being an adult. And my senior year of college, I was a senior at Dillard University, also located in New Orleans. And in addition to being a senior, I got my first apartment. And yes, it was campus housing, but it was off campus. So I really felt like an adult. I was so focused on getting everything together and getting my apartment together and having fun and really anticipating the start of my senior year of college. I remember we had only been in school for a week, I believe. I don't really think classes were really had fully started, but I was getting my apartment together and everything, and I was excited about that. And here's a hurricane that comes, and when we, especially people from New Orleans, think about hurricanes, and in my lifetime, I had never had to evacuate for a hurricane. So that was the furthest thing from my mind. But as we kept starting to look at this and the news kept going, and I started to hear about it being such a strong storm, something like we had never seen before, I'm not gonna lie, it did start to get to me a little bit, but I was still very much focused on my senior year and decorating my apartment. And I remember when it got to the point in the time when the university said that we finally had to evacuate, all students had to leave campus. I realized that this was something a little bit different than before. I ended up going to my parents' home, they lived on the West Bank of New Orleans, and still we were not going to evacuate. I remember just taking a few things, maybe like 2 days worth of clothes, because I knew I was going to be right back once this had all blown over. I vividly remember my mom waking me up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and the amount of concern on her face was very chilling. And she said, "Becky, we got to go now." And I thought, wait, thought we weren't going to go. I thought we were going to ride this out. What is happening? Why? What happened to make her change her mind? The television was on, and the mayor at the time was really saying, we got to go, we got to go. And so that's when I realized, okay, this might be something. This is the first hurricane I had ever evacuated for. I ended up evacuating to Dallas, where my aunt was. Dallas usually is a 6-hour drive from New Orleans. It took us 10 plus hours to get to Dallas because everyone was trying to get out of the city. We finally get to Dallas, I would say late that Sunday, which would have been August 28th that day. And we get to my aunt's house. Now we're talking like 10 plus people. I think it was probably even 13 or so people in one place. But again, everybody really just thought we were going to be there for 2 days. Honestly, just 2 days. I remember waking up the morning of August 29th and thinking, whew, we are in the clear. New Orleans definitely felt the brunt of it, but the landfall actually happened in Mississippi. And so, like I said, I remember thinking to myself, whew, we are safe. When I woke up the next day, I just was not expecting. Seeing all of those images on television of the city, seeing everyone who couldn't get out, the horrific images was very, very hard. I'd never seen something so catastrophic like this before. The pain and the agony of the stories that came out days after that was just a lot. I didn't know how long I was going to be in Dallas and when I was going to leave Dallas. And that was definitely something that you could never really prepare yourself for. Remember, I literally only brought closed for 2 days. At this point, I am just so distraught because I see what has happened to my city. I also can't get in touch with people that I'm trying to see who left. Did you all get out? Is your family okay? Like all of that. Cell phone service was crazy. You were not getting through. And it took days, weeks for us to even try to just figure out and get account for other family members and friends who may have stayed or even if they got out. So it took time for Dillard University to get back to all the students. And it wasn't until, again, like a little bit into September to where we knew that Dillard was not going to reopen and could not reopen because of the damage that our campus had suffered, completely, totally underwater. And there wasn't going to be a fall semester at Dillard University. Luckily, there were schools all over the country that were taking in students because of the devastation and what had happened in New Orleans. All of the major universities were closed, so it wasn't just Dillard University. All schools, every school, any type of educational system was just closed in New Orleans. We just could not come back from that. The devastation was so bad from Katrina after the levees broke on August 29th. I was told that on the onset, we had about 7 feet of water in my apartment. Now that, think about, coming and rushing in at the time. And then once it settled and stayed there for the amount of time that it did, about 5 feet before it really started to recede. So at the time, I had all these newspaper clippings from my internships prior. So I had that in a box because I was getting my senior portfolio together. And I placed those clips on a table. All of that was gone. Clothes, dishes, anything that was in that apartment. I had pictures of family. All of that was just gone. So instead of graduating typically when you would in May 2006, I ended up graduating July 1st, 2006. And that was the first time everyone together as a Dillard community had been back on the campus. And graduation was so emotional. There was not a dry eye at that graduation. So 20 years later, that experience still is one of the most horrific experiences that I've ever been through in my life. And I still get anxiety when we start to talk about this time around the anniversary. I still go right to that place of the movements, the uncertainty, the evacuation, the pictures, the images, everything that was just that experience 20 years ago. But I will say that I'm stronger because of what happened. I look at the perseverance that I went through, my family, my friends, my extended community in New Orleans, and look at us now. Everything is not perfect, but we still are a very resilient people. And our soul was not damaged. Hurricane Katrina definitely did a lot of damage. People lost lives. People lost their sense of life, even if you are still here with us. Hurricane Katrina robbed our community of a lot of things, but it did not take the character, it did not take the soul of New Orleans, and it did not take the community that is New Orleans, the people of New Orleans.